Hello, this is Vladimir Miroshnichenko. When we speak about the decolonization of Russia, one of the most common questions is where are actually the colonies and where is the Russia itself? Several days ago I found the article of Stanislav Grayevsky in the portal that is called Region Expert. I will let the link in the description of this video, so please, if you want to read it yourself, just go and read. It's in Russian, but I hope that Google Translate translates pretty well now. At least I tried to read some languages that I don't know, and it was translating pretty well without any problems. So you can just read the original or listen. It's not only the translation to English language, but I tried to make it more understandable for people who doesn't know so much about Russia, etc. In this article, we just see this map that will appear now on your screen. I'm not completely agree with this map. For example, about Circassia, about our country, which we represent, we will talk in another video. But really, doesn't matter so much because in general, this map is pretty good. And let's discuss a little bit what this map show us. First, let's talk about the Russia itself. We see it like two pieces, the red one and the blue one. Red one that is called Moscovia or Moscow Russia, and the blue one Novgorod or Novgorod Russia. In both of them live Russian people. But the thing is that they were divided for many years, for many centuries, and even in the Middle Age, Novgorod was a republic, while Moscow was always an absolute monarchy. Then Moscow just conquered Novgorod, and it was like the unification of Russia. Actually, it was, I think it was the last part of the unification of Russia, like a reconquest of the Russia, and then they started to already attack other countries on their borders. Novgorod Russia, which was independent of Moscow for many years, still have pretty different mentality. As I said, they used to be republics, so people there have more tendency to the freedom, etc. Or at least some people who live there believe it, and actually they like divide themselves mentally from Moscow. Also in Novgorod, Russia, there is the city of St. Petersburg, and it was like the imperial city. It was even the capital of Russia for many years, and right now it's the second biggest city in Russia. Also here it's Moscow against St. Petersburg. Both cities were capitals, and actually they have pretty much competition, and as I said, people there are pretty different. Also, you see some regions where the color is light red, so it's so-called border regions. I mean, they are not already like completely like Russia, but pretty much. I mean, you cannot say yet that they are colonies. But for example, you can see here one light red region on the west, like the most western of them. Is the Smolensk region. Smolensk region have the independence movement. So there are people who wanted to be independent, and there are people who wanted to be the part of Belarus. And even some more regions, like for example in the south of this, the two most southern regions are Belgorod and Voronezh. There are some movements in Belgorod and Voronezh who want it to be part of Ukraine or independent countries. So here even some, let's say, difficult regions are put as just Russia or just Moscovia. So there are even more questions. If we speak about light blue regions, it's actually national republics, but the great majority there are Russians, but not Moscow Russians. We speak about Novgorod Russians. So they have more tendency to Novgorod, because as I said, the biggest amount of the population are from there. Now let's speak about other colors on this map. First, green, national republics. They have their own language, their own culture, They consider themselves like other nations. Sometimes they have other religions. Some of them are Muslim, some Buddhist, etc. If you speak about light green, it's more or less the same. The only thing is that the indigenous population are not the majority. Now we speak about colonies. It's the yellow one. There are almost no indigenous population, but many of those colonies have different mentality or different culture. It's something very similar that what happened to United States or Australia. Because if we speak about the people, at least in Australia, the great majority there are just British people, but it doesn't mean that Australia is the same that Great Britain. The same we can say about those colonies that are put as with yellow color. They're pretty different from Russia, although the majority of population are not the indigenous. Not only the majority, as I said, there are almost no indigenous population. Another thing that is important that not all of the colonizers were Russians, because or at least Moscovites, because for example, if we speak even about the dialect of Siberia, it's very similar to Novgorod dialect. So Siberia was colonized mostly by Novgorod people, not by Moscow people, and many territories were colonized by Ukrainians, while Ukraine were part of Russia. Those colonies are very similar actually to British colonies. Almost no indigenous population, but the culture is not the same that in the center. The big problem that the colonies are working for the center. Russia is just taking advantage of them, taking the resources from them without giving so much. And the resources are going mostly to Moscow or a little bit to St. Petersburg. So, after we saw the map, after we talked about different parts of so-called Russian Federation, let's talk about what should we do with each of them. First, about national republics, the one that were green in the map. It's like almost ready to use countries. They have their own language, their own culture, they have self identification as other nation, etc. So you just give them the independence and probably everything will be okay. You don't have to do much. Now about the colonies. The thing is that when we speak about the national republics, they want to be each one the independent state. When we speak about the colonies, well, there is a question. It might be something similar to USA or Brazil, where you have something like United States, when many of the colonies just get united to a new country that is independent. So, for example, probably we will have the United States of Siberia. For example, if we just imagine the situation when each region of Russia, all 89 regions of Russia, just become an independent country, then they just have an agreement between themselves and reunite them to some bigger countries that they will be at that moment, but smaller than Russia right now. Or maybe those colonies will be like other countries in America. Like for example in Central America where you have a lot of countries, even in South America you have, well, here we have 12 countries, but it's like the half of the population of the continent lives in Brazil and the half in how many? 11, I think, different countries, 11 or 12. Of course, if we speak about those colonies, some of them will have problems with maybe self-identification, some will not. I think that the easiest case is the Königsberg. I mean, Stanislav Grabowski says the same, that it is the easiest case, and I completely agree with him. Because Königsberg, it's in Europe, it doesn't even have the borders for other regions of Russia. They already pretty much have the self identification, so there it will be the easiest situation. But for others, sometimes it will be easy, sometimes maybe not that easy. I don't know. But anyway, it will be easier than still be a colony. The last question is what will happen to Russia itself? Well, first, what about our border regions? What about, for example, Smolensk? What about Belgorod? What about Voronezh? Will they get the independence? Will they become the part of other countries? Or what will happen to them? Actually, I don't have this answer. I'm not so close to those regions, and I actually don't know. Let people from those regions decide it. The second big question is if Russia will be divided to two Russias, like Novgorod Russia and Moscow Russia, or not. Again, I would say that maybe there should be a referendum. I think that they will be actually divided. Novgorod Russia with the center in St. Petersburg and Moscow Russia with the center in Moscow. But maybe they will decide to be just one country. I don't think, and it's not from the article from Grabowski, it's something from me, from Vladimir Miroshnichenko. I don't think that we should artificially try to destroy like Russia itself and put apart even the regions there. I mean, if it's like historical Russian region, let them be Russia. Yes, some of them in the like even before the Middle Age had the experience of the independence, but it was like 1,000 years ago. So if there are Russians, if they don't have the like other self-identification, etc., let them be. Like you don't need to try to destroy it to little pieces like think some people. We only speak about the decolonization, about giving the independence to the colonies that were conquered by Russia. But some people will ask me if Russia is still pretty big, because even if we speak about, let me just show you a map again. Just imagine that all the blue and red part is becoming like one country. I think it will be the biggest country in Europe if I'm not wrong. At least if we consider that, for example, the regions like Smolensk or Belgorod will still be the part of it. Even without them, it will be very big, and I think it will still be the biggest. So the question is it possible that Russia will try to become an empire again? Well, first, there will not be the oil money. I mean, when you have a lot of money from the oil, you don't know what to do for them. You start by a lot of weapons. Well, normally, if you are a normal government, you will try to give this money to, like, for the infrastructure, for improving the people's life. But you also might just spend them for the weapons and for attacking other countries. Second, there will not be taxes from other regions because it's a big part of the Russian budget anyway. So they will need to be focused on the economy and not in attacking the neighbors. Actually, I think that with this decolonization, every country, including Russia itself, will be better than now. Because an empire cannot have the democracy. Without being an empire, Russia can become finally a democratic country, much more prosperous than now, much more powerful economically than now, with much happier people. Let's hope that it will happen. And of course, let's hope that it will happen in all the countries that will get the independence from Russia. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Also subscribe to our Telegram channel if you want to receive much more news. And see you soon. Bye.